morning. Thank you very much for coming. I'm Stephen Martino. I'm the director of the Maryland Lottery. This morning, the Maryland Lottery is pleased to announce that the winning Mega Millions jackpot ticket that was sold in Maryland on March 30th for the world record-setting $656 million jackpot was claimed yesterday. The ticket was claimed by 3 winners who have chosen to remain anonymous, but they have given us permission to give a little information about them and the circumstances for them getting the ticket, purchasing the ticket, and claiming it, and kind of how they came to understand they were the winners. All 3 winners, a woman in her 20s, a man in his 40s, and a woman in her 50s, have worked together for many years in the public school system of the state of Maryland. It is the first time that the 3 friends had pooled their money together. One described themselves as a frequent numbers player of the Maryland Lottery. Another one described themselves as an occasional scratch ticket player. And the third was essentially a non-player of the lottery, except when the jackpots got really high. And she thought that $656 million was sufficiently high to play this jackpot. The trio each contributed $20 to the pool. They purchased 60 tickets total. One of the members purchased all of the tickets at 3 different locations, at a retailer in Baltimore City, at a retailer in another county, and then at a third retailer that, of course, sold the winning ticket in Baltimore County. A little color for what happened that night. That night, the woman who had purchased the tickets laid all of the tickets out on the floor, watched the numbers be drawn, and then after seeing that, in fact, one of their winning tickets had the winning numbers, and after, I think, collecting herself from a state of disbelief, contacted one of the other participants in the group, they then called and had to wake up the third participant, told this individual that they were coming over. The third participant thought that perhaps they were playing an early April Fool's joke on her, but in fact they arrived at her home sometime midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. They all kind of collected themselves, looked over the ticket. They made a copy of the ticket, and they each signed a copy of the ticket. From there, the woman who purchased the ticket took it to a relative's house where it was placed in a safe. The next day, or actually I think late that night, so maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, one of the participants contacted a Baltimore area financial advisor and made connection with him to begin the process of planning how they were going to claim this money and what they were going to do with it. In the intervening time, it's also been explained to us that there's been contact with attorneys to help them deal with this issue. From that, we had an opportunity to visit with them yesterday about what they plan to do, and while they don't have all of their plans laid out for the money, here is a sense of what they told us and what they plan to do. For one, they hope to take a backpacking trip through Europe with their brother. Another winner wants to pay for his daughter's college educations and buy his sister a new house. Another winner would like to go and tour Italy's wine country. All 3 plan to invest their money and at some point in time to purchase new homes. All 3 winners work multiple jobs. One of them works 2 full-time jobs. And if I didn't say it, now would be a important time to highlight that one of the winners is an elementary school teacher. Another winner is a special education teacher. And the third winner provides administrative support, all in the public school system of Maryland. Again, one of them works 2 full-time jobs, another has a part-time job, and a third has 2 other part-time jobs. All of them indicated that they would continue, and the teachers said that they all plan at this point in time to remain public school teachers, not just to complete this school year, but going forward. The state of Maryland will receive $13 million in revenue from the claim. Having split it 3 ways, the after-tax claim for each of the winners comes out to $34.997 million. This is the second claim of the Mega Millions jackpot, and the Kansas winner came forward on Friday. I don't believe that the Illinois winner has come forward yet. Finally, let me just say a couple of things. I think more personal observation about these winners. We were particularly pleased that these folks were able to come in the way they did. They were modest. They were, I think, humbled by this stroke of luck that they've received. I think at times they were a bit overwhelmed. I would also say that we certainly understand that when people play the lottery, they want to win. You want to win. However, if it can't be you, these are precisely the people that you would want to see win the lottery. And it happened. Finally, everyone in Maryland takes pride in the state public education system, and we're particularly proud of the fact that for 4 straight years, Maryland's public schools have been judged the best of all the states, so that people who have participated and dedicated themselves to that system were able to share in this winning. Makes it even more rewarding for us. So, thank you very much. I would be happy to answer any questions if you might have them.
What did they say about the fact that they didn't want to come forward? Did they explain to you why? Were they concerned about their lives being disrupted? Any information on that?
Well, let me maybe start here. The initial contact we received was probably mid-morning on Friday from the financial advisor. He called me and had just indicated at the outset that they were not interested in doing publicity. As I said earlier, I think that that they were very cheerful yesterday, but I think that there was certainly an element of them being a bit overwhelmed by the enormity of what it meant. And publicity, I think, especially in light of everything that happened last week, and they certainly commented that they were watching the news and had seen what was being said, was just more than what they really wanted to go through. So they were very generous with their time. They gave us a lot of information that we could get out there about who they are, what they do. They even acknowledged that they thought would be interest in their story and just who were these people who won this enormous jackpot. But it was not something that personally they wanted to participate in.
You say Maryland Public Schools. Can you tell us what county, which jurisdiction?
We're not going to reveal, kind of as a part of our agreement with them, what school district they work for, and I mean where these tickets were purchased. Frankly, it could be any number of school districts, but they do work in the public schools.
Can I follow up and I ask, any other person who has previously come forward claiming to be a winner, can you now definitely say they are not?
We can definitely say that these are the only winners of the jackpot. So if you are referring to maybe some news items of interest last week, I can say that is not the winner of this jackpot.
What's it like when they bring the ticket in? I mean, do they put it out in their hand? Is it under glass? Or do they have a security guard with them? What's it like when they show you the ticket?
one of them carried it. She had it in an envelope in her purse, and in fact, they all had not signed the back of the ticket until they came into our office yesterday. They had all signed a copy of the ticket, but it wasn't really until we instructed them that each of the winners had to claim and sign the back of the ticket that they all signed the back of it. Another interesting point, so they each put in $20 into the pool, so they bought 60 tickets. They had not checked any of their other tickets, so they had the 59 other tickets in another small, wide envelope. They brought them in. We offered to check that for them. Of the total 59 tickets, they won $1.
Did they come in with their lawyers, their financial advisor, or they come by themselves?
They came in with a financial advisor. He's the one who made initial contact with the lottery, and my understanding is representing them, and that's how the meeting was initiated. He participated, and
can you describe the law or the practice in Maryland where winners can remain anonymous, and is the lottery board going to reconsider that part of the policy, or is it important for you to continue to allow that?
We could have our attorneys check it. I think it's the law, so it's the public policy is set by the legislature. So it's not something within the purview reviewed by the Lottery Commission, and I've heard zero discussion or interest in revisiting that policy.
In times you've had anonymous winners too. Do they eventually leak out or come forward and say, yeah, it's me? What do you think from these people? Might any or all of them do the same?
Well, I think that's always a concern depending on who you tell. I think each of them acknowledged having let some of their relatives know. We had 2 jackpot winners last year. To my knowledge, they've never been identified in the media. So I think it probably depends on how you conduct yourself and how discreet you are with the information. Again, I think that these we just could not have been more delighted that it was these people that came in, given their frame of mind. One of them had literally just a smile on their face, from the moment they came in, very cheerful about it. Obviously, I think fairly cheerful too, just won $35 million. But I also realize it comes with that, some can be an overwhelming feeling. So I think all of them too seem to be very kind of modest in how they intended to move forward. I think that everything that was on their list that they told us, whether it was paying tuition for their children or purchasing a home or taking a trip somewhere, is not the kind of ostentatious brandishing of this money that would necessarily bring them a lot of attention.
One follow-up. You said you were delighted that these particular people have won the prize. That indicates that there might be a gamut. Is there a flip side to this where other people come in, they're boisterous or unseemly?
No, I don't mean to indicate anything like that. I think in particular, given their participation as public educators, that we were really, really pleased that this is kind of how this story is going to end up. The fact that you have an elementary school teacher, a special education teacher, that they were so clearly committed to their kids. When we asked them, are you going to continue to teach? They both said, yes, I can't give up my kids. And I think it was truly heartfelt. They all have multiple jobs. One of them talked about how, I can't even remember what the occasion was, but they'd just been in church and they had said kind of a silent prayer for just some help in paying some bills. One of the teachers worked 2 other jobs. So obviously, I think every bill that they have will be taken care of by having claimed this winnings.
Are there any repercussions for people who come forward to claim to win a lottery that don't actually win?
Not that I'm aware of.
Technical question for you. What happens next? I mean, is a check that's dispersed in the mail? Is it direct deposit? What's done to secure the money getting to them?
So my understanding is that all 3 of them have met with money managers, investment banks, and the actual logistics of that is the claiming information is sent to Annapolis, to the comptroller's office, and each of them have requested that the funds actually be wired to their accounts that have been established. We're working with the financial advisor to get all of that information and believe that the wire transfer can be made in the next maybe 7 to 10 business days.
Of course, you did say they want to lump sum.
I'm not sure that I did. Thank you very much. Yes, they are all electing to take the lump sum. And so after taxes, that comes out to $34.997 million.
Could you go over again how much money the state of Maryland makes and where that money goes? Does it go to education?
The money goes to the state general fund. I think it's $13.4 million. That's cumulative of all the winners. That's actually the state income tax that's being paid. I believe the income tax is deposited in the state general fund. None of them seem to be particularly upset about having to pay the income tax, although one of them did say that they hoped that the money would be used for public education.
Did they comment at all about, they just said they watched the news, did they comment about the circus and all the rumors going on over the past week and how that impacted their decision to even be anonymous or just, anything about that?
There wasn't a lot of discussion about the reasons for why they wanted to be anonymous. It was the least surprising news, I think, that I've heard over the past week when their advisor came in or contacted us and said they weren't going to do it. They all did comment that they had been watching the news, that they had been kind of privately laughing among themselves and maybe texting back and forth that, other people were claiming to have the ticket when in fact they knew where the ticket was. So, but they were observing it, and I think they had taken some of the advice that we had frankly been putting out there. They had reached out immediately to a financial advisor. They were able to talk to an attorney and get things organized so that they were prepared when they found this money deposited.
Can you just go through and sort of match up a bit more of the details that you've given here? So the woman in her 20s, a man in his 40s, and a woman in her 50s. Which of those is a special ed teacher? Which is a elementary education teacher?
Yeah, I don't think we are going to match it up. Anything beyond that, that's who they are by age, and then one of them is an elementary school teacher, one of them is a special education teacher, and the third works in an administrative support capacity in the public schools. We are, they had some, I think, legitimate and heartfelt concerns about too much detail coming out, and we are respectful of that since, frankly, they've given us perhaps more than otherwise they could have in letting us come out with this information.
But Stephen, to be clear, they all work in the same physical workplace.
They do not. They do not work in the same school. So, although they all work in public education, they do not work in the same public school.
On the two church collect people, did they directly their retirements to win? Is there any kind of color you can give us there?
No. I think I think she was just using it as an example of how she was working very hard, had a number of jobs, and just kind of said the silent prayer in hopes of some modest financial relief, and kind of was comparing that to probably what they've actually won.
Did you say one was one of the son or daughter's college?
I think they were both.
Did they mention how they picked their numbers?
I think of the 60 tickets, I think 5 were numbers selected, the players selected the numbers, the other were random. So, and I'll be happy to clarify this. So initially when we were at the retailer and subsequently we indicated that there was only one ticket purchased, obviously that's not turned out to be the case. They did tell us that for whatever reason, and I'm not clear about this, that they had the retailer distribute the tickets individually. You could have as many as 5 lines of numbers on one ticket. Instead, all of the tickets were issued individually, so there were actually 60 pieces of paper. In our computer system, we can't differentiate because we just see the numbers on, that are on each ticket. That led us to initially believe that it was just one, when in fact 20 individual purchases actually occurred.
And the winning ticket, though, was randomly picked, or was it one of the ones where they came out with?
I'm sorry, it was randomly picked.
So the winner was random.
It was a quick pick.
Do they know each other? They don't work all in the same physical place?
I think they either did at one point in time, or they've known each other professionally, so they know each other, they just don't work together at the present.
And could you go over their plans for spending the money again?
I think these are kind of more anecdotally. One of them said they had an interest in backpacking through Europe. Another wanted to help pay his daughter's college educations and buy a house for his sister. Another winner indicated an interest in going to Italy and touring its wine country. And all three of them indicated an interest in investing the money and at some point in time purchasing new homes.
Did you ever anticipate this turning into a circus like it did when you first found out the winning ticket was in Maryland?
No.
Stephen, what is it like to meet them when you walk in the room, or they walk in, up to meet you? I mean, are you as nervous as they are when you consider the gravity of the amount of money? What are your thoughts about being you?
I don't recall being nervous. I was very happy for them. Obviously, you don't know exactly who's going to, come up through the elevator doors. We were able to spend some time in advance planning how they were going to get up into the building. They were concerned about. We've had media staking out the building for some time. They wanted to avoid that. We were able to work things out so they were able to get into the building. And again, they came in and they were modest. They were down to earth. I think they were overwhelmed. At times, one of them was emotional, but I think justifiably so. And again, I think we within the lottery have been captivated a bit by the notion, and no doubt, I think, comparing it to all of the discussion last week, that all three of these people work in public education in the state of Maryland. Public education is extremely important in this state, and so the fact that that's where they work, they all had multiple jobs to support themselves, and they're coming out of that experience, being able to claim the jackpot is very satisfying for us.
What is the nature of their secondary jobs? They just describe that as a way to make ends meet, or they had to do that recently because of other problems in the family, maybe somebody else got laid off?
Yeah, I don't even know the context on that. I do know what some of their secondary jobs are, and we're not going to go into detail on that. I think it could be used to identify them. But
has the vendor received their fee?
I don't know the answer to that, so we'll have to find out. I don't know when that'll happen and what the process is.
And that's $100,000.
It's $100,000, and because they're a 7-Eleven franchisee, there's some split done with 7-Eleven corporate on that, and so we may be working through that as well.
Could you take us through kind of like what the circus was like for you guys here in this office the last couple weeks since this happened?
Well, I think it's only been like 10 days, although it's felt like several weeks at times. We have tried to. We've looked forward to this time right now. That this is the event that we've wanted to have. Everything else that happened last week, we really were not a part of. I think we were observers as much of it as anything. Obviously, wanting to come forward in the end to make clear that as of Thursday, no one had claimed the ticket. So it was curious that how one seemingly random story gets picked up. But we're just glad that, in fact, the true winners had the ticket. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were contacting a financial advisor. They were getting legal counsel. And then at a time that worked for them, they made arrangements to come in and claim the money. And that's exactly what happened.
Did any of them mention any philanthropic endeavors? I'd like to give money to this. I have a favorite charity, anything like that?
They didn't, no.
Stephen, do you know if these winners continued to work last week as normal?
I think that actually last week was spring break for them.
Perfect time.
But they were all going back to work this week. I know that.
Would it be fair for us to report that they're at work today?
Well, I'd have to do a head count. I don't know. I assume that's where they're at.
They said they intended to go to work.
Absolutely. The teachers indicated no immediate interest or desire in retiring or leaving, and both of them spoke very strongly about their commitment to their students and how they wanted to maintain that commitment.
So somewhere in Maryland today, there are 2 tens of millionaires standing in front of little kids. Nobody knows but them.
That's exactly right. And I think that's exactly the way they want it.
Thanks.
Did they say why they waited till Monday, 10 days or whatever to?
I think they were just getting things organized. Of course, the drawing was on a Friday night. I know that an email was sent to the financial advisor late that night. I don't even know when the first meeting occurred. So I think that they made initial contact on Friday after they were able to get organized, kind of get their affairs in order as they wanted to, and then we were actually able to arrange to have them come in yesterday morning.
So it was last Friday that you had the first one?
Yeah, it was 4 days ago.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.